A recent video made by Esoteric Entity makes quite incompetent criticisms of Marx and historical materialism. Suffice to say, it's clear that he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He actually claims that Marxists say capitalism and feudalism are the same thing. In his dreadful video, he claims that since we see capitalism as evolving out of feudalism, that we claim they're the same thing, which we most certainly do not. Actually, the only people I've ever heard claim that capitalism and feudalism are ANCAPs, because they both include an active exchange, so therefore capitalism is older and therefore capitalism is natural. Of course, that argument doesn't make any sense, but that is what I've heard ANCAPs actually say. No Marxist would say that feudalism and capitalism are the same thing. Esoteric Entity is wrong in the very beginning of his video by calling historical materialism an economic theory. It is not an economic theory. Marxist economics is an economic theory. Historical materialism shows how social relations, concepts of rights, social interactions, and social organization are dominated by the level and development of the productive relations. Historical materialism is the study of the evolution of this phenomenon. This conception of history depends on our ability to expound the real process of production, starting out from the material production of life itself, and to comprehend the form of intercourse connected with this and created by this mode of production, i.e. civil society in its various stages, as the basis for all history, describing it in its action as the state, and to explain all the different theoretical products and forms of consciousness, religion, philosophy, ethics, etc., arise from it, and trace their origins and growth from that basis. Thus, the whole thing can, of course, be depicted in its totality, and therefore the reciprocal action of these various slides into one another. More importantly, it demonstrates why one type of society overthrows another. It shows how societies evolve over time. The material productive forces evolve. They correspondingly create new social relations to fit that change. At a certain stage in their development, the material productive forces of society come into conflict with the existing relations of production, or what is but a legal expression for the same thing, with the property relations within which they have been at work hitherto. From forms of development of the productive forces, these relations turn into their fetters. No social order ever perishes before all the productive forces for which there is room in it have developed, and new, higher relations of production never appear before the material conditions of their existence have matured in the womb of the old society itself. Therefore, mankind always sets itself only such tasks as it can solve, since looking at the matter more closely, it will always be found that the tasks itself arises only when the material conditions of its solution already exist, or at least in the process of formation. Off the bat, he's already demonstrated that he doesn't know what historical materialism is. And on top of it, historical materialism wouldn't say that feudalism and capitalism are the same thing. The dead opposite, in fact. It specifically says that they're two different stages. Esoteric Entity complains that Marx isn't clear on the evolution of these stages in Capital. Well, of course not, because that's not the point of Capital. Capital is a critique of political economy. He's literally reading the wrong book. That is explained elsewhere in other works. Another aspect of this part is his complaint that the stages aren't always clear because sometimes slaveholding society can appear at different stages, and that there's no consensus by Marxists in their order. Well, primitive communism is first, then slaveholding society. And moreover, monarch kingdom is feudalism, because he seems to be confused on that. Esoteric Entity claims that historical materialism is wrong because it relies on the labor theory of value. Actually, it doesn't. Marx never claimed this. The two have nothing to do with each other. Esoteric Entity literally made this part up himself. He literally has no idea what he's talking about. He has made a terrible video. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.